Assalamu alaikum. Hope you're all well. Let me have a quick look. Comment section. I had somebody backstage, but they've disappeared. Amir Bax or something like that. There you are. Okay, yes. Assalamu alaikum. Yes, how are you? Hope you're well. You have Muhammad Hassan. Good to see you. Yeah, I saw that was you. Welcome to come on. I'll try to do this presentation. I mean, I chose actually I kind of regret choosing the topic that I've chosen today because what I want to show, it's different. It might be a bit difficult to show in this kind of presentation, and trying to keep it short as well will be a challenge. And I do want to still keep these short. I mean, this is a 49th, so we've got 3 more to go. And I still want to have people come on and actually share any insights that they themselves might have, some contemplation on the Qur'an. There's basically just after today, there's only 3 more opportunities for that to happen. So I would really like if somebody did come on and share something that they've taken from the Qur'an. Which is why this presentation might be a bit difficult, might go on longer than I want it, but I'll try to get through it, and I'm not even sure if it's gonna come across easily. Anyway, we'll see. Assalamu alaikum. She is, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but no, this isn't exactly about what we were talking about. All right, so let me put up the presentation screen, minimize this, and let's get into it. Okay, so the topic here, Mushrikeen, Haram, right? So that's what they say, and it's basically it's more like a thematic contemplation or look at something which I saw in Surah Al-An'am. It's very interesting. It runs through a lot of the surah. There's discussion or dialogue that it has with the Mushrikeen, that it's Mushrikeen who are pushing for things to be haram. Okay, it's Mushrikeen. They're not pushing for things to be halal, to be allowed. You can do this. They're pushing for things to be haram, and the Quran, the Prophet is trying to rail that back in. Okay, to leave it in the things which are important to be haram. But hopefully we'll see that going through. Like I said, I'm not sure. So when reading Surah Al-An'am, I wrote it here, Surah 6, livestock or cattle, you'll notice that it is always the Mushrikeen who are saying things are haram. This dialogue or discussion of the Mushrikeen making numerous things haram versus the few things that God has made haram. Okay, it starts around verse 118. Of course, it's linked to things earlier. You can see that from the beginning of this verse, which starts with so, all right? Meaning that you should actually pay attention to what came before it, right? Because what came before it is leading on to this. So it says, فَكُلُوا أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم فَكُلُوا مِمَّا ذُكِرَ اسْمُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ إِن كُنتُم بِآيَاتِهِ مُؤْمِنِينَ. So eat of that, of those things. It doesn't say meat in the verse, of course. Eat of that upon which the name of Allah has been mentioned, if you are mu'minun, okay, in His signs. If you are mu'minun in His signs. So I said here again, note the start. So, I mean, you should look at the previous verses, but we're going to look from here because, of all the verses of the Quran, you start in any point in any surah, you can look at what came before, and see how that developed. But we have to pick a point to discuss what I want to discuss. The next verse says, وَمَا لَكُمْ, and what is it? What's wrong with you? Why shouldn't you? وَمَا لَكُمْ أَلَّا تَأْكُلُوا مِمَّا ذُكِرَ اسْمُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ. And why won't you eat of that upon which the name of Allah has been mentioned? Okay? And it says, وَقَدْ فَصَّلَ لَكُمْ مَا حَرَّمَ عَلَيْكُمْ. While He has explained to you, doesn't say detail. Okay, this is a big misconception about the Quran being mufassal. That's detailed. Doesn't mean detailed. Fasl is to put things into categories. Even in schools, right? A fasl awwal, fasl rabi'. The first grade, second grade, third grade. Okay. So groups more. Okay. وَقَدْ فَصَّلَ لَكُمْ مَا حَرَّمَ عَلَيْكُمْ. Okay. What He has made forbidden to you. except in that which you are compelled to. And then it says here, okay, وَإِنَّ كَثِيرًا لَيُضِلُّونَ بِأَهْوَائِهِمْ بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ. Okay, and many of them, and many indeed lead others astray through their inclination, their ahwa, their desires. Okay, this word is an important word to look up in the Quran itself. Yeah, ahwa. Okay, بغير علم, without any knowledge. إن ربك هو أعلم بالمعتدين. That's called the اعتداء here. Okay, it's transgression. Remember, اعتداء is the opposite of taqwa. Okay, the mu'tadeen and the muttaqeen are opposite ends. Right, so it's part of اعتداء, to take people away by the, without knowledge. Okay, with your ahwa, without knowledge. And of course, this is in reference to what is haram. Okay, so that it's saying basically that some who try to take people away without any knowledge, okay, by playing around with what is haram. Okay, Allah has already said what is haram, mufassal, okay, and others try to take that away, and by doing that they are mu'tadeen, they are transgressors. Okay, so a few verses later, again, look, this whole section in the surah, I recommend that you read it yourselves and try to see what I'm trying to point out. But I can't go through every single verse. And then, of course, the way the Quran is, it will skip certain things for a certain reason, right? Skip ahead. The theme will change. What the verses are talking about will change a little bit. They will be related. There's a relationship there, but then it will change to something, and then it will come back to that previous topic. Okay, it will seem like a diversion, but it isn't. There's something being said. But I'm just going to focus on those verses which will more easily show what I want to show, as I said. So a few verses later, it says something very significant. Okay, it says, وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا مِمَّا لَمْ يُذْكَرِ اسْمُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ وَإِنَّهُ لَفِسْقٌ. And do not eat of that upon which the name of Allah has not been mentioned, for indeed it is a fisq. Okay, it says here disobedience, but the thing itself is fisq. But okay, let's just keep it with fisq in the Arabic for now. Then it says here, وَإِنَّ الشَّيَاطِينَ, and truly the shayateen, the Satans. And remember that in the Quran there are shayateen al-ins and shayateen al-jinn. There are shayateen of ins and jinn, both. Okay, so there are some who are men. Okay, shayateen. It says here, إِنَّ الشَّيَاطِينَ لَيُوحُونَ إِلَىٰ أَوْلِيَائِهِمْ. They inspire towards their allies, لِيُجَادِلُوكُمْ, so that they may dispute with you. وَإِنْ أَطَعْتُمُوهُمْ إِنَّكُمْ لَمُشْرِكُونَ. And if you were to obey them, then you would be mushrikeen. Okay, and this is what we've mentioned many times before this. Okay, that the shirk is not about, in the Quran, shirk is not about the prostration or prostrations to wooden, stone, or inanimate objects. Okay, that stuff hardly matters. Okay, but here it's saying وَإِنْ أَطَعْتُمُوهُمْ إِنَّكُمْ لَمُشْرِكُونَ. Okay, and it gives you another indication of what shirk is about. Shirk is about this ta'a, this obedience, this ibadah. Okay, to be in servitude to something. Okay, all right. But it says here regarding this. Okay, there are some that will be again trying to play around with this, the shayateen, to argue with you concerning what is haram, what is not haram. Okay, and if you were to obey them, okay, you would be mushrikun there. You would be mushrikun. Okay, so later we will see that these allies of shayateen are not trying to say things are halal. Okay, you'll see throughout the surah that they're always taken to task for saying things are haram, not for saying things are halal. They never say things are halal. They're always trying to say haram, 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 haram. Okay, so they keep insisting that things are haram, and it is in the obedience. It is in obedience to them that would make us mushrikeen. In obeying them by following them and saying that these things are haram. Okay, so then the surah continues. Okay, discusses many other things connected with shirk and mushrikeen until we get to the mushrikeen quoted as saying this. They say, وقالوا هذه أنعام حرث حجر لا يطعمها إلا من نشاء بزعمهم وأنعام حرمت ظهورها وأنعام لا يذكرون اسم الله عليها افتراء عليه سيجزيهم بما كانوا يفترون. And they say, who are they? The mushrikeen. If you read the verses before, they're the mushrikeen. They say these animals and crops are forbidden. They're haram. Okay, it doesn't say the word haram in Arabic, but it says you can't have them. No. Okay, no one may eat from them except whom we will, and that's their claim. By their claim, that's their claim. And there are those camels whose backs are forbidden by them. Again, they say these things are haram, and those upon which the name of Allah is not mentioned. All this an invention of untruth about him, and he will punish them for their inventing. Okay, because this is, of course, lying about things. But again, the point here is that, again, these mushrikeen are saying or trying to forbid things, right? And again, وقالوا ما في بطون هذه الأنعام خالصة لذكورنا ومحرم على أزواجنا. Okay, and they say what is in the bellies of these animals is exclusive for our males and forbidden for our females. But if it is born dead, then they all have a share in it. فهم فيه شركاء. Okay, again, he will punish them for their description. Indeed, he is wise, knowing. So again, look, what are they doing? They're saying things are haram. Just give me a second. All right, okay. So again, the point is that they are making things haram, okay? Then verse 140 backtracks to what was mentioned a bit earlier in verse 137 about how the shuraka have adorned the actions of the mushrikeen killing of their children. Okay, so this is related, okay? The verses are speaking about how they've made certain things haram, okay? And then it links that, it puts embedded among that is a verse talking about how the mushrikeen are sort of making the action of killing their own children seem well pleasing to those who have taken them as idols. To those people who have taken them as idols, the mushrikeen, their shuraka have adorned, zayyana lahum. It's made them seem well pleasing, the killing of their own children. Okay, so don't be surprised if they can make other things halal or haram, right? If they can make you kill your own children, if make you think that's good, that's fair seeming, okay, it makes them do that you see, and this is the danger of shirk. This is what shirk does, okay, real shirk, not bowing or prostrating to an inanimate object, okay, that's nothing, okay, but real shuraka, they can make people do things like this. Okay, so then a little later, verses 143 to 144, once more, it's questioning the mushrikeen for the things that they make haram. قُلْ أَذَّكَرُ حَرَّمَ أَمِ الْأُنْثَيَيْنِ Okay, أَمْ اشْتَمَلَتْ عَلَيْهِ أَرْحَامُ الْأُنْثَيَيْنِ Okay, the previous verse also mentions these things, it mentions, I've not quoted the full verse here, and it looks like even not quoting, I haven't been able to put it all on the presentation. But it's those verses which are saying that he's sent down ثمانية أزواج, 8 pairs of livestock, cattle and am. Okay, so cows, camels, sheep, etc. Okay, and so here the Prophet is told to question the mushrikeen here. Say, is it the 2 males he has forbidden, or the 2 females, or that which the wombs of the 2 females contain? Because they are making all these claims about this is haram, this the womb, what's in this womb is haram, what's in the womb of that livestock is not haram for our males, but haram on our females, all this stuff, okay? And then it says, or were you witness, okay, this is the question here, or were you witnesses when Allah charged you with this? Okay, am kuntum shuhada إذ وصاكم الله بهذا. Note shuhada, witnesses, okay? Were you witnesses when God commanded this? Then who is more unjust? فَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنْ افترى على الله كذبا. This is the greatest sin in, as we've mentioned many times in Islam, the greatest sin. Who is more worse than the one who invents a lie, upon Allah? لِيُضِلَّ النَّاسِ بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ. So as to misguide people without any knowledge. Now go remember the previous verse we talked about, how they take people away by following their ahwa, their inclinations, okay, away from what is haram to this, okay. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الظَّالِمِينَ. Indeed, Allah does not guide the zalimeen people. So again, you see this link of how the mushrikeen are pushing for things to be haram. And what things they are pushing to be haram? These sort of things. We'll come to that. Now, against all of this, the Prophet is commanded in verse 145 to say he finds nothing haram except certain things. And this, this is one of the great tragedies of inherited Islam. If this had been a hadith, Sahih hadith, in Bukhari or Muslim, you would find you would find some of the fuqaha, some of the the jurists from the madhahib, they would be saying that nothing is haram except this. Okay, but alas, because just a verse in the Quran, okay, they don't consider that they've added other things which are haram, right? So some would say, for example, that eating donkeys is haram, eating tigers, any predatory animal is haram to eat. Okay, but look what he's saying here. قُلْ لَا أَجِدُ فِيمَا أُوحِيَ إِلَيَّ مُحَرَّمٌ عَلَى طَعَامٍ يَطْعَمُهُ. I mean, that's a long sentence, all right? Just that part. It's not even just saying, the only thing haram is this. It's saying, look, I do not find in what has been revealed to me, okay, forbidden to one who would eat it, عَلَى طَعَامٍ يَطْعَمُهُ, except that it be a dead animal, or blood spilled out, or the flesh of swine, for indeed it is impure, or to be, that which is slaughtered as fisq, delegated to other than God. Okay, that's it. These are the things which are haram. The Prophet finds nothing else in what was sent down to him to be haram. That's it. Okay. All right. So against all of that stuff which the Mushrikeen were saying, this is haram, this baqar, and the male, the female. No, these are the things which are haram. Very simple and easy to see. Okay. And against this, what will the Mushrikeen say? They have a tactic, right? There's a tactic which is used, which has unfortunately come into Islam in the Jabr and the Irja. We've talked about that before. So against this, Mushrikeen will use this tactic of trying to put it on God. It is His will that we are Mushrikeen, that we have ashrakna, and His will that we have made things haram. Okay, so that comes in this verse. They say, سيقولوا, they will say in response to you, Muhammad, they will say, سيقول الذين أشركوا لو شاء الله ما أشركنا. Those who are associated with Allah will say, if Allah had willed, we would not have associated anything, and neither would our fathers. Okay, ولا أباؤنا ولا حرمنا من شيء. Okay, nor would we have forbidden anything. So again, pay attention. ولا حرم, we make things haram. They are admitting we make things haram. No, it's not ولا حللنا من شيء. We haven't made things halal. Okay, they're not trying to defend themselves against charges that they've made things halal. They are defending themselves of charges of why are you making things haram which are not haram. They're saying, well, Allah willed it, God did it. Okay, and of course this is one of the ways which people falsify things. Okay, they put things on God. All right. We spoke about this, I think, when we were talking about faith and iman, and how it's not Allah's will. Allah does not decide who becomes a believer, who doesn't. It's not like that. Okay, and so here again, it's saying that كذلك كذب الذين من قبلهم. Okay, that's how they rejected. Even those before them, they would reject in the same way. In the same way, they're saying it's Allah's will. Allah's will. Okay, Allah's will. حتى ذاقوا بأسنا, until they tasted our punishment. Okay. قل هل عندكم من علم فتخرجوه لنا. Okay, do you say to them, Muhammad, do you have any knowledge that you can produce for us to tell us that this is how it is? God willed it for you to be like that? No. Okay, إن تتبعون إلا الظن. You are only following conjecture. Okay, وإن أنتم إلا تخرصون, and you're just falsifying. You're trying to get out of this. Okay. And it all seems to come to a head in this verse. Okay. So it says here, the Prophet said, قُلْ هَلُمَّ شُهَدَاءَكُمْ. Bring forward your witnesses. Bring forward your witnesses. الَّذِينَ يَشْهَدُونَ أَنَّ اللَّهَ حَرَّمَ هَذَا. Okay, bring forward your witnesses that testify that Allah has indeed prohibited this. Okay, فَإِنْ شَهِدُوا, and if they do that and they bring forward their witnesses and they testify, فَلَا تَشْهَدْ مَعَهُمْ. Okay, don't testify with them. Do not testify with them. Okay, and again, وَلَا تَتَّبِعْ أَهْوَاءَ الَّذِينَ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا. And do not follow the desires or the ahwa of those who deny our signs. وَالَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْآخِرَةِ, and those who have no faith in the akhirah, in the hereafter, or in general, just what comes later. Okay, وَهُمْ بِرَبِّهِمْ يَعْدِلُونَ, while they equate others with their Lord. يَعْدِلُونَ. Okay. So this is very important. We're going to come back to the statement a few more times. فَلَا تَشْهَدْ مَعَهُمْ. Okay, and again, it's talking about those who the ahwa are what's bringing this about. Okay, but note especially here the way that it's phrased. Okay, الذين يشهدون أن الله حرم هذا. Right, the هذا here. Note that the use of the word هذا, this. It's like it's belittling it. Okay, you're testifying that Allah has made this haram. like this little thing, okay, as if to say, this really, you think Allah cares about making this little thing, these little things haram? Okay, فإن شهدوا فلا تشهد معهم. So if they testify, yes, these little things, this and that and the other is haram, don't testify with them. Okay. And also note that at the end of the ending phrase, it says, وَهُمْ بِرَبِّهِمْ يَعْدِلُونَ. This is something that many actually do about, knowing that it's in the Quran, that those who are constantly making things haram are putting themselves as equals with Allah. Adil. Adil is basically, equal, right? Equality and stuff, right? So, they هُمْ بِرَبِّهِمْ يَعْدِلُونَ. These people are making others as equals of Allah. How? Equals in making things haram. Okay? So we should not follow them in their ahwa and their desires to say, don't do this, or this is haram, or that is haram. Okay? So there's more that, there is often a word here, there's more control in telling people haram and no than in telling them yes and it's allowed. So you find that a lot, the people who are, especially was very much, among the like fanatical extremist Salafis, no haram, haram, haram. Eventually you find the person, he will never smile, right? He's always depressed, always his face is always scowling, smiling at a non-Muslim is haram. To say wa alaikum assalam is haram, right? All this nonsense. Okay, so but now the things which are truly haram and belong in the category to which you can tell people no are the major things. And so that is what the next verses deal with. The verses which are becoming more known now, alhamdulillah, the verses of As-Sirat al-Mustaqim, right? So the verses from 151 to 153, they talk about certain things. It starts off saying, let me tell you, let me give you the real shahada. This is my shahada. The Prophet is being commanded, is told to give the real shahada, saying, come to me, I will tell you, me. Okay, I will tell you the real things that your Lord has made haram for you. Okay, not all of these nonsense hada, these things. Okay, this is haram. No, this is the real thing, not the hadas of the mushrikeen, what is haram according to the Messenger of Allah, okay, or from Allah. So these are the famous verses, say, come, I will recite to you what your Lord has prohibited to you, okay? He commands that you not associate anything with him, and to parents, good treatment, and do not kill your children out of poverty. Okay, so remember that killing of children, already mentioned, that the mushrikeen makes fair seeming. We will provide for you and for them, and do not approach immoralities, what is apparent of them and what is concealed, and do not kill the soul which Allah has made forbidden to be killed except by legal reason. And at the end here it says, you can't see it here, I think it says, find it in Arabic, ذَلِكُمْ وَصَّاكُمْ بِهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ, that He has enjoined upon you so that you may have your intellect. Okay, and this is one of the supreme aims in the Quran, the intellect. Okay, aql. Okay. And then the next verse, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا مَالَ الْيَتِيمِ إِلَّا بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ, and do not approach the orphan's wealth except in a way that is best until he reaches maturity, and give full measure and weight in justice. We do not charge any soul except what's within its capacity. And when you testify, be just. Yeah. وَإِذَا قُلْتُمْ فَعْدِلُوا. Okay, when you speak, actually, not just testify. When you just speak, إِذَا قُلْتُمْ فَعْدِلُوا, then be just, even if it concerns your near relatives. وَبِعَهْدِ اللَّهِ أَوْفُوا. Okay, and by the covenant of Allah, fulfill. This He has instructed you that you may remember. ذَلِكُمْ وَصَّاكُمْ بِهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. And all of that together, okay, وَأَنَّ هَذَا صِرَاطِي مُسْتَقِيمًا. Okay, and this is my path, which is the straight path, صراط مستقيم, so follow it. Okay, and do not follow the other ways. وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا السُّبُلَ فَتَفَرَّقَ بِكُمْ عَنْ سَبِيلِهِ. Okay, do not follow other ways, so that will separate you from His way. And all of this has He commanded you that you may gain taqwa. So you see here that the final goal of all of that is taqwa. Okay, ذَلِكُمْ وَصَّاكُمْ بِهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. All right, and that's again, taqwa is the linchpin virtue, the most important thing to understand in the Quran is taqwa from the beginning to the end. Okay, it's hudan lil muttaqeen, right? And the Jannah is for the muttaqeen, and we've been through that. Now the interesting thing here, given the context of the mushrikeen making things haram, is the ending. It says, وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا السُّبُلَ فَتَفَرَّقَ بِكُمْ عَنْ سَبِيلِهِ. Do not follow the ways, the different ways, many other ways, which will take you away from His way, from His sabil, the Sirat al-Mustaqim. Okay? This has taken us back towards those who testify that God has made this haram, this haram, this haram, all of these things haram. Okay? يشهدون أن الله حرم هذا. They testify that God has made these things haram. Okay? It is as if each of these hada, when they say this is haram and this is haram, it's like each of them is a diversion. Okay, a diversion which takes them away from the main road. Okay, from a sirat mustaqim and onto other ways. Okay, other subul. So at each, and you know, the Prophet even, we have a hadith about that where the Prophet drew on the ground like one straight ray, one straight line, and said, "This is Allah's sirat mustaqim." Okay, and then he drew a lot of little lines coming out from it. And he's saying each of these little lines are paths taken you away from that. And at each intersection, there's a shaitan calling you, come here. Okay, halumma, all right, come here, this way, right? So this is showing that, okay, that you have the, you know, so you know that's why I accept the hadith. It's basically given imagery of this verse, okay, that you have a sirat mustaqim, God's path, and you have all of these little paths coming out, and each one there's a shaitan telling you come this way, okay. And in the context of what's being spoken about in this surah, okay, it's people telling you it's haram, okay, come this way, okay, where the way you're going, that's haram, right? The way you're going, that's haram. These are people who are testifying that Allah has made this or that or the other haram, okay, and by that they are taking you away from, you know, Allah's great, you know, the highway, nice and expensive, easy, you know, not crowded, okay, and they move you onto these little alleyways, okay, where you get robbed. Okay, so again, saying so these other ways. So don't follow those ways. Don't follow those other ways. Instead, you know, فإن شهدوا فلا تشهد معهم. You know, if they testify that, don't testify that to the same. Don't go their way. Okay, stay on the Sirat Mustaqim. Okay, there's also an echo of an earlier verse. So an earlier verse says, وإن تطيع أكثر من في الأرض يضلوك عن سبيل الله. وَإِنْ يَتَّبِعُونَ إِلَّا الظَّنَّ وَإِنْ هُمْ إِلَّا يَخْرُصُونَ. And if you obey most of those upon the land, upon the earth, they will mislead you from the way of Allah. يَضِلُّونَكَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. Okay, and they follow nothing except their assumptions and conjecture, and they are only falsifying with their arguments. Okay, so these verses all then become linked with a verse near the start of the surah, in verse 19. It says, قُلْ أَيُّ شَيْءٍ أَكْبَرُ شَهَادَةً. So remember shahada again, testifying. Say, what thing is greatest in testimony? Say Allah. Okay, it's witness between me and you. And this Qur'an was revealed to me that I may warn you thereby. So I can warn you what is haram. Right? You don't need I'm going to warn you about what is haram. There's no need for all of these small things the others will tell you is haram. Okay. Revealed to me that I may warn you thereby and whoever it reaches, وَمْبَلَغ. Okay, and then it says here, do you testify that with Allah or other deities? Okay, so this is the echo of that same phrase. Okay, let me find it in Arabic because I'm looking at the English. أَإِنَّكُمْ لَتَشْهَدُونَ أَنَّ مَعَ اللَّهِ آلِهَةً أُخْرَى. Is it that you really testify that with Allah are other aliha? Okay, قُلْ لَا أَشْهَدْ. Say, I will not testify. Just like before, okay, when it says, bring your shuhada who will testify that Allah has made this haram. So if they testify, you don't testify. Okay? It says here, I will not testify with you. Say, indeed, He is but one God. قُلْ إِنَّمَا هُوَ إِلَهٌ وَاحِدٌ وَإِنَّنِي بَرِيءٌ مِمَّا تُشْرِكُونَ. Okay, it's only one God and I am bari. Okay, I'm free from all these aliha which you have taken in ibadah. Okay, all these aliha which you have made ibadah, which you are doing shirk with them, I'm free from. Okay, so note again, I mentioned here, note the parallel. أَإِنَّكُمْ لَتَشْهَدُونَ أَنَّ مَعَ اللَّهِ آلِهَةً أُخْرَى. This is in the same surah. Okay, do you testify that? Sorry, this is cut off. Do you testify that that with Allah there are other deities? Say, I will not testify. And that same, and later in the surah, قُلْ هَلُّمَ شُهَدَاكُمُ الَّذِينَ يَشْهَدُونَ أَنَّ اللَّهَ حَرَّمَ هَذَا. See your bring forward your witnesses who will testify that Allah has prohibited this. فَإِنْ شَهِدُوا فَلَا تَشْهَدْ مَعَهُم. So if they testify, you don't testify with them. And in passing, I just wrote in passing, I should add that the topic of shahada is such a big and important one in the Quran. Okay, it's shahada lillah, right? The real shuhada are those who testify for Allah. Okay, they testify for Allah, not for their madhab themselves, the sect, the religion, nothing else. They testify for Allah. And a martyr is only a shaheed in Allah's sight if he dies doing that. Okay, a shaheed is only called that a martyr in Allah's sight. Shaheed, the one who dies in sabilillah, is only that if he's testifying for Allah. If he's the aggressor, then he's not part of the shuhada. Okay. Now, two related verses outside of the surah are قل من حرم زينة الله التي أخرج لعباده والطيبات من الرزق. Say, who has forbidden, who has made haram the adornments of Allah which He has produced for His servants and the good things of provision. So again, it's telling you that there are people there who are saying things are haram. Okay, things are haram. Okay, the Quran, you will find that it is speaking out against those who say things are haram. It's not speaking out against those who say things are halal. Okay, it's not much. And here I should give a shout out to what's his name, Mufti Abu Layth. I saw one time a video where it was meant to be was meant to sort of like be against him, where they just made a montage of him saying these things are halal, this is, or these things are not haram, this is not haram, this is not haram. Okay, and I thought, fantastic, that's good. All right, that shows higher thinking. Whereas those who made that video against him, they would say all of that is haram. Okay, without any real evidence. Okay, and here we are told, now this is the other thing, we have in most in Sunni Islam, basically they'll tell you that these are the things which are haram. Okay, there are some things which are haram and everything else is halal. Okay, halal. That is not the division we're supposed to have. We're not supposed to say something is haram, and equally we're not to say some things are halal. Okay, so this is what it says here. Excuse me. ولا تقولوا لما تصف ألسنتكم الكذب هذا حلال وهذا حرام لتفتروا على الله الكذب. Okay, and do not say about what your tongues assert of untruth. This is halal and this is haram. Okay, you shouldn't say something is halal or something is haram. Leave the space in between. Leave the things in between that Allah has left in between. Okay, there are some things which are haram, there are some things which are halal, and the things in between, Allah has left it like that for a reason. Okay, this comes back to that stream that we talked about. Don't ask, right? لا تسألوا عن شيء تبدأ لكم تسؤكم. Don't ask about those things which are, if made clear to you, it would make things more difficult for you. Because Allah could have told you how every single thing is either halal or haram, but we wouldn't have been able to keep to that. Okay, so and one hadith says that he سكت عن أشياء رحمة لكم. He kept quiet about certain things out of mercy for you. Okay, so don't ask about it. Right? This is again, we mentioned this about the Bani Israel and the golden calf. They kept on asking and asking and asking. When if they had just sacrificed any cow in the beginning, it would have been accepted. But they kept asking what kind of cow, what's its color, what's this. In the end, they had to pay a huge amount of money for a very expensive cow to sacrifice. Okay, so you're not allowed to say things are halal or haram. Okay, you leave those, and the things which are in between, you just say nothing's mentioned about it. Leave it as it is. All right. Okay. I'm not sure if I was able to get the message across here, because it is it's something which is not that easy to show in a presentation. You have to actually just read through the surah, and you'll see this link, especially that in the surah. Okay, from around verse, like I said, 118. Keep reading on until around 150 or 155, something like that. Okay, you will see this link, this equating of how it's the Mushrikeen are the ones who are always saying things are haram. Okay, they're the ones who are trying to push for haram, haram, haram. They're not pushing for halal. Okay, they're not trying to say this is halal and that's halal. Yes, you can do that. No, they are trying to make things haram. Okay, mostly. Okay, so that is a mentality which is linked to the Mushrikeen. All right, okay, that's basically what I wanted to show. Let's leave that over here. Let me check the comments. We have Iron Man in the background. Assalamu alaikum, Iron Man. Good to see you. Just have a quick look through some of them. There seems to be if there's any comments about what I've said here. Here's one. Okay, pig is haram. Alcohol is haram. Any dead animal is haram for consumption, sacrifice. Okay, yes, but I think you missed that verse. The verse is saying, محرم على طعام يطعمه. Okay, haram in terms of a food which is eaten. Okay, khamr, for example, alcohol is haram, but it's mentioned separately. It's not a food. Okay. What about those who make things halal, like interest, okay, etc. All of that. Of course, yeah, no, of course, those things. I'm just so this wasn't to say that you're allowed to make things halal. Like I said, I mean, I put maybe this comment came before I came to the end of that presentation, like the screen which shows here. You're not allowed to say things are halal or haram, but the point is to show the mentality of the mushrikeen. Okay, they are the things which are they are the ones who are expanding the circle of haram. Okay, they are making many things haram, and the Quran is pushing back against that. Okay, and we can learn from that. We can see the similarities of what is around us. Okay, and who has inherited that mentality of making so many things haram. Okay, and we should be wary of that. That's what I'm showing here. Okay, and you know the link of where it comes from. Okay, it comes from the ahwa of those who are taken as adl, as equals of Allah. Okay, so you know Allah said, you know, for example, you know, of the food, you know, that verse which shows what food is haram. Okay, that's why He said it's haram. And other scholars will tell you no, well also, you know, eating the donkey is haram. Eating a tiger is haram. It's haram to eat predatory animals. Okay, well now you've put that scholar as equals with this verse. Okay, so the verse is saying these things are haram, and you are adding that also this. Okay, that's adl. That's putting them on equal footing. All right, um, and you know you can see that around us. That's the point um, that I wanted to get at over here. Okay, let me get to the bottom. Taking your desires as a form of shirk. It can be, yes. I mean, I haven't looked deeply into that, but the Quran talks about um, taking your ahwa as an ilah. Okay, but I don't, you know, how can it be taken as shirk? And you know, it's like you're in obedience to myself. Okay, it's not the same thing. I mean, ilah. I mean, these are the, you know, there are key words that you really need to grasp in the Quran. You know, taqwa, um, kufr, iman, nifaq, ibadah, and ilah. Um, what else? Did I mention ibadah? Anyway, there are some key. There's, you know, the major concepts in the Quran that, you know, really need to be looked at again. And a lot of them weren't actually common use among the Arabs before the Quran. You know, kufr and kafir and these things, the Arabs never used to use these much. It's certainly not in religious context. You know, before Islam, they wouldn't say of somebody who doesn't accept their religion that he's a kafir. Okay, no, that wasn't the thing. Even during early Islam, right, when you know the Mushrikeen, the people of Mecca, they would speak about those among themselves who had left their religion and joined Muhammad. They would use a different word, as-sabata. You know, like Umar ibn Khattab. You know, and when he went to his sister who had converted and he heard he'd converted, and when somebody met him on the street, right, and then, he was on his way to try and kill the Prophet. So, you know, a secret Muslim met him and said, "Where are you going, Umar?" with that expression on your face. He said, "I'm going to kill Muhammad." So you're going to kill Muhammad when even in your own house, your sister has left your religion. So, you know, Sabat, she's left your religion in that kind of way. So the the words we use are that, you know, and then he went to her and said that, you know, I heard and sabati ma'a Muhammad, that you basically what we would say kafarti ma'a Muhammad, you know, you've left our religion with Muhammad. These words were not very used much among the Arabs. Taqwa wasn't used much, you know, iman wasn't used to mean believer, right? These were words that the Quran almost revived. Okay, and there are many words like that in the Quran. The Arabs knew nothing about them. Okay, Ar-Rahman, right? God's name Ar-Rahman. The Arabs never knew. You know, the people of Mecca, they're like, "What's Ar-Rahman?" Okay. إذا قيل لهم اسجدوا للرحمن قالوا وما الرحمن نسجد لما تأمرنا. You know, you know, when they're told to bow down to Ar-Rahman, they say, and what is Ar-Rahman? Should we bow down to whatever you tell us? And in fact, Ar-Rahman is actually is Christian in origin. Even the Arabic word Ar-Rahman, it was used by the Christians in the south, in the South Arabia. They used the word Ar-Rahman for God. Okay, but the Arabs didn't know about it. So it's really important to look at this. So ilah is that thing which is sort of looked up to, admired. But for you to be in shirk with it, there has to be ibadah as well. Okay, so the thing which ilah is like the thing which is above you. Okay, which you put above you, which you idolize it. It's above you. And so that usually means that you're going to be in shirk with it, right? When it commands, you will do. But there's something which don't command. Okay. So like I mentioned before, the golden calf. The golden calf, the Ben Israel took it as an ilah. It's mentioned that's said in the Quran. And if you look in every tafsir, they will say that they were in ibadah to it. But nowhere in the Quran does it say that Ben Israel were in ibadah to the golden calf. It's always ittakhadhu, right? Ittakhadhu al-ijl. They took the ijl. They took the ijl as what? They took it as an ilah. Okay? But they were never in ibadah to it. Right? All right, okay, sorry, I went on a tangent there. Yeah, exactly. Okay, exactly the verse. That's what I'm talking about, right? أَفَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ. Okay, have you seen one who has taken his desires as an ilah? That's true, but that doesn't mean he's in. Like I said again, separate this idea that you can have an ilah, something can be as an ilah, but you are not in shirk towards it. Okay, these are separate sins. Okay, there's believing that with Allah there are other aliha. Okay, but that doesn't mean you're going to be in ibadah to them. Okay, that doesn't mean you're going to be in ibadah to them even like that. Anyway, okay. Let me bring on Iron Man. Assalamu alaikum, Iron Man. Hope you're well. Or is he gone? Hello, Iron Man, you there? Iron Man. Okay, this question, what is ibadah? Ibadah is exactly what it sounds like, to be an abd, to be a servant. Okay, abd that's why it was called that, ibadah, servitude. Okay, to be an abd is to be in like a slave. Okay, to obey. We saw already in this presentation, right? In ta'tumuhum innakum la mushrikun. If you obey them, you are mushrikun. If you obey them, okay, there has to be some obedience. Okay, for there to be shirk. إن أطعتموهم إنكم لمشركون. Right? If you obey them, then you are mushrikun. Right? If you don't obey them, even if you consider them to be an ilah, okay, that's not shirk. Okay, it's not the same. Okay, when it comes to what is it? The key verse for understanding shirk is at the end of Surah Al-Kahf. كان يرجو لقاء ربه فليعمل عملا صالحا ولا يشرك بعبادة ربه أحدا. لا يشرك بعبادة ربه. He does not do shirk in his ibadah to his Lord. Okay, and there are, okay, I can see somebody backstage. I'll bring you on in a minute. Okay, and there are 4 things which I wrote a Twitter thread about it. There are 4 things mentioned in the Quran. There's the shirk billah, then there's du'a ma'allah, then there's du'a min dunillah. Okay, and then there is taking an ilah ma'allah. Okay, they are separate. These are separate things mentioned in the Quran, but we conflate them all. The problem is it's all conflated. It's all just shirk, right? It's all conflated. These are different terms in the Quran. Okay, I'm bringing you on, Amir. I think. How do you? Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. It's Amir, but yeah, Amir, I don't mind.
Yeah, because it's
I'm not fussy.
In English,
it's like, I thought, yeah,
Amir.
Well, I get a ton of different variations on the pronunciation, but I won't get too hung up on it. So I thought maybe I'd just join you on the stream rather than just continually ask away in the question. So I'm just trying to understand your perspective a bit more. And really, I'm just trying to understand, because I thought I understood what you were saying at the beginning in terms of the shirk aspect of obedience in terms of someone will make something prohibited, and obeying that would make you will constitute a form of shirk. First of all, is that initial understanding correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's shirk is about the ibadah. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
the type of obedience, like there are some things which you will obey. Okay. But in the end, it's not conflicting with what Allah has commanded. Okay. If somebody tells you, okay, tell the truth in this situation, and you obey them, that's not shirk. Okay. That's not shirk. Okay, because it's not you're not putting that person on the level with Allah, right? You are basically yes, of course, I'll be truthful. I'll tell the truth. Allah has already commanded this. You get me? So that's
Yeah.
why, for example, the prophets, okay, Allah commands to obey them. Okay, من يطع الرسول فقد أطاع الله. Whoever obeys the messenger, then he has obeyed Allah. Why? Because the messenger has been told to no, he will command what is only for Allah. And then there's an interesting thing about shirk. Okay, in the Quran it goes, "And tushriku billahi ma lam yunazzil bihi sultana." Why is that condition there? Okay, okay, that's haram that you and tushrik billahi ma lam yunazzil bihi sultana, that you are in shirk with Allah in that on for which He has sent no authority.
Yeah.
Okay, now the messengers know they have authority. Okay, if you're going to take it in that kind of way where you say this is, it's not the shirk which Allah has made haram. Okay, to put it that way, you can say okay, it's shirk to obey the messenger. Well, if it is, it's not the shirk which He has made haram, because that shirk is what Allah has sent down sultan. He has said obey the messenger. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So it's good that at least I understood that initial aspect. So then I mean, you've just gone on and explained a bit more detail, which raises another question then about, would you define, and again, just trying to understand your perspective here, would you define the
Sorry, your sound cut off there. Would I define what? I didn't get it. Can you try to get back on? Let me try and bring that.
shirk, or
There we go.
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I can just hear you now only. Go on, say that again. What were you going to say?
Oh, sorry, where did you lose me?
Cut off. Yeah, you said when you were going to ask me at the beginning, would you define
Oh,
something?
sorry. So is it just those things that
Mm.
would contest the subjects raised within the Quran? Because everything else outside of the Quran, you just have to deduce through intellect. But would you say that the ibadah aspect is anything that is an instruction or a command which you obey, which is a subject covered within the Quran already?
What did I say? I'm not exactly getting it.
That
But
was clear as mud, right? No worries.
No, so you're saying like you're asking about the actual ibadah, how
Okay.
you'd see that in the real world, yes?
So to
Something like
clarify,
that.
you gave the example of tell the truth. Okay,
Yeah,
that's fine. If someone says tell the truth and you tell the truth, or you listen to them, that's not shirk. I don't think anyone
yeah,
would disagree
yeah.
with that. So what? And then, but in the same sphere, if you will, there are people coming out and saying X and Y is prohibited for you, and then obeying that, we're saying here is shirk. So what are the sort of topics, if you will, or what is the relationship that's required between the one who's making these claims and the one who obeys them?
I think I get you. I think I get you.
I hope so.
It's more of think of the person who is receiving this command, their mentality vis-a-vis the person who is giving it. All right. How much is he venerating that command? Okay, it's literally like to be a servant, to be a slave. Okay, ibadah is being in that kind of docile servitude, whatever you say, master. Yes, I hear and obey. That sort of mentality. Okay. Now, some people, of course, they believe the scholars because the scholar says this is haram. Okay, and he follows that. And they're saying, okay, yes, I believe that's haram. The scholar said so. He's not. It's not because he's in this. It's there is shirk there, but it's not that it's levels, it's degrees. He's not being this docile servitude thing towards this thing. He just thinks that this scholar knows better, right? He thinks that scholar knows better. But if you sit the person down, okay, and you show them, for example, that verse, for example, okay, it says, look, this is what the Prophet is commanded to say. He says in the Quran, La ajid. He is commanded to say, I do not find in what has been revealed to me, okay, to be haram out of anything which you can eat except that it be this, okay? That's
Yeah.
very emphatic. You sit this person down, you say, look, this is what he's saying, okay? That's what it's saying, okay? The person who you're saying, who you're currently saying, yes, he knows better. He's saying that no, that's what else is haram is also, for example, to eat donkeys. You can't eat donkeys, okay, based on a hadith, right? Okay, now where are you going to go? Okay, where is your servitude? Which way will you bend? Okay,
So you're saying it's at the
and
crossroads.
it's sort of like at the crossroads. Yeah, exactly. It's at that thing where because it's all about shirk is what it's about so making something a partner with God. Okay, so you need to sort of dig a little bit and see the person. You know, are they doing this in what they are saying? Are they pushing things to the level, okay, where God is saying something, they see that clearly, and somebody else is saying something else, and they can see that clearly, and they choose that other thing as well. Okay, now that's shirk. Okay, you've made that person a partner with Allah. Do you get me? Okay,
Yeah,
so it's
and mm,
yeah. Go ahead.
no, sorry, go ahead.
No, so I'm just saying that you just have to sort of it's not as it shouldn't be as surface level and flippant as so, there are some among the sort of the Quranist community, they make it this sort of like very flippant, very quick thing where anybody who just says something different from them, okay, I believe that the Quran says this way, and he's saying something, okay, you're a mushrik because you're doing something. No, I mean you have to really look at where the person's sort of like allegiance lies. Okay, where is their heart? Okay, now the Quran says يحبونهم كحب الله من الناس من يتخذ أندادا. Among mankind are those who take equals with Allah. Okay, they love them as they should love Allah. Okay, they love them with the love of Allah. Okay, and then it says, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. But those who have real faith, their love for Allah is greater. Okay, so it doesn't matter which imam you bring to the mu'min. Okay, doesn't matter how much they love him. Okay, they will follow what Allah said, even with the Prophet himself. Okay, there are some things in the Quran where the Prophet is taken to task. Okay, right? You don't say that the prophet was right there. Okay, that he did it the right way. No, you say no. Uh, you put and the prophet is still below that, right? Um, so I hope that's a bit clearer.
Yeah, so I suppose as a convenient segue, then then what's sort of the because it seems like there's a bit of a bump or sort of hesitation at acknowledging or sort of looking at sort of shahwat or hawa as a driver, because one could argue that one could be a slave of his desires, and then at the crossroads could be defined as there's obviously a clear command to avoid something or to not perform a certain act or go a certain path, and the desires will force someone to rationalize why it's okay. I mean, to give, I sort of hesitate to give a few examples, but I'm
I
saying
think I think
if
I
there's someone who
understand.
goes in, yeah, like I mean, just if someone wants to go in a certain trade or something where they're involved in usury or
Yeah, I get
interest,
you.
and then so
Yeah, I get you. I get you. So look, this is where we need to be very when you're gonna research things in the Quran. You really, I mean, there's no way around it. You need to sort of like dig into the Arabic. Okay, so Quran is very very specific. If you looked at all of these verses, it all says ahwa. Okay, that's going to be translated in English all the time as desires or inclinations, right? But there's another word which is shahwat, okay, and that's also going to be translated as desires and inclinations. Okay, the semantic fields though are very different. Okay, in English you put them together. Okay, but these are different. All right. So for example, somebody who's following his shahwat. okay, shahwat, okay, which are more like bodily desires, like these kind of ambitions, like here you're talking about earthly. Somebody wants money. He has a shahwa for money, and that comes to the, take that back to the verse in which surah it is, for Surah Al Imran. زُيِنَ لِلنَّاسِ حُبُّ الشَّهْوَاتِ. Okay, it's been made pleasing, nice, adorned for mankind, the love of the shahwat, not the ahwa, not ahwa, right? Shahwat, min al-nisa'i wal-mal, of women and wealth and houses and this. These are shahwat, okay? Shahwat. They're not mentioned in the Quran as being a driving force or something which is behind shirk. All right. Somebody who knows something is haram, okay, and then he maybe listen to somebody else who will say, no, this is, it's okay, it's you can do it or something like that, because really in the end inside, okay, this lets me follow this desire which I have, okay, this shahwa, okay, isn't really okay because he actually has put this person on the level of Allah. Okay, instead, this is the different. This is where he's put he's an excuse to follow those desires, his bodily desires. Those are not the hawa which I mentioned. Okay, so in that verse which somebody put in the chat, I think it was you, right?
I took it from Iron Man, copied it first, and then I just
right, okay.
helped
Yeah. So you see
referenced it.
exactly. So that verse is talking about those who have taken their ilahahu hawa. Okay, he's taken the ahwa. His ahwa is his ilah. Okay, not his shahwat. Okay, this again, we have to be specific. We have to look at these words. God doesn't say one word and mean another. Okay, the words which are being used are very specific, and they're specific for a reason. Okay, so it's not talking about the one who takes his shahwat as an ilah, the one who takes his ahwa. Okay, and that's why this word ahwa was used typically, and it got spread a lot with the Salafi movement, right? Because it was used early on in the sort of the Islamic, the bickering, the sectarian bickering. Okay, they would talk about a sect, okay, a different sect that they follow their hawa, okay, their hawa or their ahwa. Okay, not these kind of desires are not the same as the shahwat kind of desires. All right, it's more like these are like very sort of calculated. Okay, more calculated, stripped away. It's not this. It's not the bodily desires of ambitions of wanting to get ahead of these kind of like human base kind of desires. Not that. Okay, the hawa are something else. Okay, the hawa are something else. They're more of like wanting people um, to follow you and stuff. I mean, I need to do a proper myself. I need to do a proper, more in-depth look at this word. Okay, but it's not the same as shahwat. Yeah, it's not the same as shahwat. It's a different thing. So we need to look into that more.
Okay, fair enough. I should give you the opportunity to review, because you've done an excellent job on explaining what it isn't.
Yeah.
And hopefully, inshallah, we'll get into
we need to
what that
we need
is.
to look at it, because I haven't looked at it deeply myself. I mean, I've done I sort of like taken mental notes while I'm reading the Quran and stuff. But there's so much in the Quran which needs to be re-looked at, rethink, and you have to, and every once in a while you find that there's something that you thought you had it the right way in terms of like just the traditional understanding, and you don't realize that there's something missing there. All right. But that's one which I haven't looked at deeply myself. Just mental notes about it. Okay, that it's certainly not mean. It doesn't mean these kind of desirous bodily based kind of desires, which can overwhelm anybody. Right? These kind of things, these kind of ambitions, these kind of lower desires, they can overwhelm people, and they can end up following them, okay, finding excuses for them, and all these kind of things. That's not shirk. That's weakness. Okay, that's weakness in the thing. خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا. There's an excellent part. So I was actually in a comment section of a video where people were talking about in Surah An-Nisa, the whole thing which some have popularized, that now the Quran allows men to rape married women, right? In Surah An-Nisa verses from I think it's 24, right? That's when they go to, right? They're allowed to rape married women or something like this, right? So, and of course those whole verses from beginning, from around I think it's 22 onwards, they are talking about marriage, okay? Who you can't marry, right? So you can't marry those whom your fathers have married, All right. Then it talks about also haram for you for what? For marriage, or your mothers, your daughters, your sisters, etc. It goes on. Then the verse afterwards, 24, it says, of course, all married women. وَالْمُحْصَنَاتِ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ. Right? They're haram. You can't marry them. Then it says, except مَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُكُمْ, except those who مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُكُمْ. Right? Who are essentially basically the captives and the pre-Islamic slaves, because in Islam you can't make slaves, but there were some who were already there. All right. So those captives, you can marry them. Okay. Not rape them. You can marry them. Right. And the whole verse is talking about about marriage. The whole verse is talking about marriage. Then it mentions the next verse. It's explaining that, and these verses basically they define all of marriage. So the verse after that it gives permission. Okay, for those who can't afford to marry the free women, that they can marry ma malakat aymanukum. Okay, and that's why in the Quran it says, constantly, it's later on in later verses it will say, whom those who preserve their private parts except against their wives, and ma malakat aymanukum. These are both marriage categories. They both have to be married. Okay, but the interesting thing is after that verse, let me try and actually bring it up so I can make sure I'm getting it. After that verse, which both of them describe this, they're basically those set of verses. After those set of verses, sorry, which lay down basically all about marriage and whom you can marry and stuff like that. Then it says very interestingly, the next verse says, يريد الله ليبين لكم ويهديكم سنن الذين من قبلكم ويتوب عليكم والله عليم حكيم. God wants to um, um, make things clear to you and guide you to the ways of those before you and repent upon you, and God is knowing, wise. Then again it repeats, والله يريد أن يتوب عليكم, and God wants to repent towards you. ويريد الذين يتبعون الشهوات, while those who wish to follow their shahawat, their lower base desires, not ahwa, their shahawat, they want to divert you in a mighty way. They want to take you away in a mighty way, right? So there are those there during the time of the Prophet, okay, during the time of the Quran, who wanted this, okay, and it's the fact that it's been mentioned there in the context of those previous verses, which lay out that you must marry women, and also those whom your right hand possesses, you must marry them as well, okay. The fact that this is mentioned, that there were people who were trying to take people away from that, basically, take people who wanted to follow their desires, their shahwat, okay, in a mighty way. It's very significant because in the end, these people won. They won their way. In the end, now in Islamic jurisprudence, it says that basically you can marry 4 women and an unlimited number of concubines, right, slave girls, and you can have sex with them. Okay, the people who made that happen, okay, are mentioned basically in the surah. And then the next verse again says, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ يُخَفِّفَ عَنْكُمْ, God wants to make things easy for you, light for you, okay? وَخُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا, and man has been made weak, okay? So man can be weak in front of his shahwat, but he should never be weak in front of the ahwa, okay? The ahwa of others, usually, okay? Because it's always talking about those who, the others who try to force their ahwa upon you. Anyway, that's just another little tangent, because I thought that's very interesting in that.
Yeah, no, it's very informative. Thank you. Just so I can understand, make sure I understood that correctly. You were saying that in the verse it said that the people who desire to follow or wish to follow or are inclined by their shahawat, these are the ones. So essentially, they basically changed the laws on some aspect.
In a certain way, because don't forget, look, one of the things about the whole period of revelation and Islam, okay, the Prophet only gained some amount of power and influence over all of Arabia in basically the last 3 years, okay. So 13 years persecution basically in Mecca, right? Then moves to Medina and wars, wars. They're being attacked by, there was Badr, and then attacked at Medina, the Battle of Uhud, and there was a trench, etc. Until finally, and then of course the just variously those attacks. But eventually, what happens in the 7th year, they finally get the big opening, which is the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. All right, and from the 7th year, okay, up to the time where Mecca eventually gets conquered, that's when Islam grew exponentially, and that's why it was called the in opening. Okay, it was only, and so imagine now you've got basically in the last 3 years of the Prophet. Okay, that's when basically most of Arabia became Muslim. Okay, now that time period is not enough time to permanently change the cultural mentality of a people, of a people in a region that big. Okay, this is Arabia. It was about the size of Europe. Okay, the Prophet Muhammad was in Medina. Okay, very difficult to permanently change the whole people. Okay, and that's why in the end, when the Prophet died, most of Arabia apostated. Right, a lot of them left. Okay, so basically, what I'm saying here is that you had these verses are sort of like a warning that there are people who would want to just follow their shahwat. Okay, they won't want marriage, they won't want it to be marriage, to have the shahwat confined to marriage, and they want you as well to not have your shahwat confined to marriage. They want it to be outside of marriage. So that was because that's how it was before. Okay, before Islam, that's how they were. Okay, they didn't like so this confining of of sex to marriage. They didn't like that. Okay, and so when the Prophet died, people sort of semi reverted to how things were. A lot of things just continued, which weren't completely wiped away.
So relating that back to the topic of the contemplation of subject, then would you say in that instance that you've described in the verse of Surah An-Nisa that there was some form of shirk there in terms of their taking of the shahwat in this instance as something equal to their Lord and obeying that?
No, I don't think it comes down to that because it doesn't mention that. It says يتبعون, those who follow their shahwat, right? So they're following the shahwat isn't the same as taking as the ahwa. Okay, like I said, it's people who had they wanted to follow these lustful desires. Okay, and they wished for others to be like that as well. Okay, they wanted that as well. But it's a warning to us definitely. So for those who would look to it, okay, and then see that later they would, those who would try to convince, if they were trying to convince you of that, then yes, you would be taking them as shuraka, right? So they themselves were following their lusts and trying to get this, but then of course they would use their own. They would try to convince you of it, right? They might try to come around to you and try to convince you that this is how it is. So when that's made clear, when you see clearly that no, the Quran is talking about marriage, and you have to marry ma malakat aymanukum, all right? And then no, they come to you and tell you no, you don't have to. Okay, then now you're in that position, that crossroads, where will you submit, and which side will you be in ibadah to? So always just if you maintain the idea that shirk in the end is about ibadah. Okay, it's not just about following a command or something like that. Try to see what is at the root here. Okay, is some ibadah going on, right? And that's of course sometimes it's not something which you can see outwardly, right? You can't see outwardly somebody is following this because of ibadah, or just because he thinks it's right, or because for other things. Okay, but you have to scratch the surface for this. You have to sort of scratch the surface more. Okay, but
Yeah.
the roots of shirk is always going to come down to there has to be some sort of ibadah going on. Okay, some obedience, this servitude, this docileness. Yes, I will listen. Yes, I am your servant. Yes, I will obey. Okay, that sort of thing. Okay, and even when it comes to what Allah has said, yes, I obey Allah, everything, but also I will obey and I will listen to you. Okay, now that's shirk. Okay.
Yeah, so I think I would do. I wouldn't disagree with the majority of what you said there. I don't know, is there a capacity for the next caravan to be focused on the concept of Hawa, or do you have already an agenda laid out for
Um,
your next session?
I'll have to look. I mean, I'd have to actually look into it deeply. I mean, especially when you wanna focus on one word, okay, like that, then you have to basically do a whole. You have to actually look at the Quran where it comes out from, how it's used. Try to look also in the pre-Islamic poetry and have a look at that and all of this. So it's a lot more work to try to to get the semantic field of a certain word. All right. I could do that. I mean, I could try to get it done. I don't know how much free time I'll have for that, but yeah, I'll give it a go. I'll give it a go and see. If not, then
Yeah.
maybe I can do it on a separate time once it's thing, because I don't want to. I won't rush it. If I'm not sure of that I've got it pinned down in a way which I can present, then I won't. But if I have it pinned down in that kind of way, yes, sure, I'd be happy to.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a proposal more than anything. I know you have a Reddit and some other platforms as well. So if
But
you
yeah,
could
no,
just
it's an important one.
just
It's an important one. Definitely
yeah,
an important one to look into. These are very important concepts.
and just to clarify for the
Mm,
for myself and the audience,
mm,
I'm sure there are people who come across this stream. We're
mm.
not you're not saying don't listen to doctors and physicians or anything,
No, no.
anything like. We just have to make that because you'll get that comment. I'm sure
Yeah,
you
yeah.
will. You'll get
those.
the reductio ad absurdums here and there,
Yeah,
quite
yeah.
wrongly applied. But yeah, okay, no, thank you for that. And just asking about yourself, really, because I think from your last few streams, you were dealing with a cold or a flu or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. Thanks. No, yeah, I was just basically. I think the strange thing about COVID, right? For some reason, I mean, people probably know this now from people who have had it. That once it goes away, it seems to stay in your system for a while. So I had COVID a few weeks back, and it doesn't seem to go away very quickly. I'm still coughing, and I have a colleague who just recovered from COVID, and they're also still coughing. Another
Yeah.
colleague recovered a month and a half ago, and they're still coughing. And so it's a very strange thing. People say it takes around 90 days for it to be completely out of your system, which really makes me wonder about this kind of, um, you know, all those theories that it's an engineered virus and stuff. Is that true? Because I've never seen that these kind of things stay in the system for that long. I mean, so it's a virus, I get that, but
Mm.
once you're cured from it, you're still coughing for so long, especially at night. But no, generally, alhamdulillah, I'm feeling good.
Alhamdulillah. No,
Yeah, thanks
inshallah,
for asking.
speedy recovery for you and all the
Mm.
other people who are sick globally.
Yeah,
So thanks for your time. I greatly appreciate that. Again,
no problem, no
benefited
problem. Yeah, no,
immensely
thank you.
from your presentation. Inshallah, I will try and join the live streams more
Yeah,
often as opposed to trying to
thank you.
catch up.
No problem at all.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Jazakallah. Thanks, bro.
Jazakallah. Yeah. All right, guys, let's see. Don't know if there's anybody else who wants to come on. If not, I might actually end more or less on time today. The creation of the heavens and the earth. Yeah, I don't think I'll have much to add on that. There's not much. I'm very much when it comes to the Quran talking about beginning of creation. I don't think it really handles that in a way where you can say much more. Especially not trying to equate it with the science and stuff. I mean, I'm of the opinion that the Quran is deliberately too vague in its relaying these kind of things which would be considered like about science or nature. So it's too vague to consider them what's mentioned to be scientific miracles, as people say, and also too vague for them to be mistakes, right? With an exception of things which I did, like I mentioned before, that the one about the backbone and the rib, I always considered that to be a mistake, right? From what we understood, scientific error. And I think we need to be able to mention that, right? Be able to say that without, um, because people put you in the corner, right? If you can find one mistake in the Quran, then you must throw it all out. No, you don't. You don't have to throw it all out if you can find one mistake in the Quran, right? One mistake might end up turning to be not a mistake. Okay, it might end up being not wrong. It could be that the science needs to be updated. We are not living in a unique time where all the scientific discoveries and theories that we have now will still hold true in 1,000 years, for example. So even when it comes to how the creation of the heavens and the earth, for example, so I keep the science separate from my science, what I understand of science. I keep it separate from trying to interpret into the Quran or out of the Quran or these kind of things. I even, one of the things which people are most impressed about is the verse about that is used to talk about the expanding of the universe, right? I incline more. It's not that I think it's right, but I incline more to the theories and ideas that no, the universe is not expanding, and there was no Big Bang. In terms of just the raw science, I like the work of the more practical scientists. My favorite scientist is Nikola Tesla. All right, he has some interesting things to say about the science, which is basically just theoretical. It's all in equations, and you try to extrapolate the equations back and do this and the other, and then you try to say, okay, this is how the real world is. No, I prefer the more the more Nikola Tesla side, where you're more of a engineer trying to look into the world and take it apart and see how to understand it. So there's one guy, I recommend you look at it. I put a clip of his in my video, God's Endgame. So in that video, at the end of it, I put in a clip of this man, Mr. Eric Lerner, presenting some of his data about why he says there is no Big Bang, the universe is not expanding, and there's no dark matter as well, right? So I incline more to that, despite what people would take from the Quran as saying that وَالسَّمَاءَ بِنَيْنَاهَا بِأَيْدٍ وَإِنَّا لَمُوسِعُونَ, and the heavens or the sky we built with strength or with hand, and we are expanding it. That's what it's said. Yeah, okay. I could say subtle instead of vague. That's true. Maybe it's a better word. But in the end, it comes down to the same thing in that you can't take. I don't think you can take scientific because they're not meant to be. These verses, when they speak about these things, they're not trying to impart hard facts about the natural world. I don't think they're pointing at things for you to contemplate, to increase you in faith, to to open up your sense of awe. That's what they're pointing to. And sometimes what can throw things a bit more, can throw things off in terms of you're trying to understand in terms of science, is that Quran will speak about things, about God doing things, in a way which is it is direct actually, but in a way which you can't translate into science. So the key one for that is the verse where God says that do you not see the birds flying in the sky? It says ما يمسكهن إلا الرحمن. Nothing holds them up except Ar-Rahman. Okay, if you take that literally, then you'd have to do away with all of the science which talks about which everybody knows. The people then knew that as well. They knew that what held the birds up. Okay, you've got there's their wings, there's the air currents, there's the flapping of their wings. That's what holds them up. Okay, but that is also Ar-Rahman. That is also Ar-Rahman. I think I mentioned this last week as well, that anything which is a natural process, by the laws of causality which God has made in the universe, in the world, whether they be part of the psychology of the human being, in the heart, or outside in the world, anything which is a cause and effect relationship, which Allah has made it that way, then God always addresses that as Himself doing it. I did that, right? So when the birds are flying in the air, I'm doing that. Okay, ما يمسكهن إلا الرحمن. It's Ar-Rahman who is holding those birds up. Okay, so that's how I'd say. Yeah, Tesla suffered much injustice. Yeah. Yeah, Brother Yusuf used to talk on it. You could probably get him to talk more about that. We had a comment again from Amir. Speaking about sicknesses and recovery, interesting subject to explore is the notion that hadith and that health and wealth is maktub. Yeah, I think we did discuss. I think I discussed it more in terms of in terms of faith, because it's a more important. Well, I seem to see it as a more important topic, where people think that you are destined maktub to be a believer or not believer and these kind of things. So I did have a stream where it's called maktub. I forget if that was exactly what I was talking about. I regret how I named some of these streams because I look at them like, what was that about? What's in here? And I'd have to listen to it to get it. But I did speak about this idea of things being maktub or written. Yeah, exactly. They would be factual and accurate in terms of, again, when you say factual, most people would take that to be like scientifically factual, scientifically factual. No, they would be accurate in terms of, and factual, quote unquote, in terms of human language, in terms of what you will understand, from it. Okay, what you get from it. And some things, for example, and I still don't understand. Like I said, the one about the backbone and the ribs. Okay, I didn't see that until I read that article by Asadullah, right? And for the most part, people don't. They look at that and they say, okay, and they try to explain it with apologetics. Right? They say, this is it means this or that or some weird things which I've never accepted. So the fact that the semen comes between the backbones and ribs, it would be scientifically inaccurate, right? It would be not factual and not right. But again, that comes down to our failings. Okay, it can come down to the science. Maybe it's wrong. In this case, of course, I don't think the science would ever have changed that. That the that the eventually people would discover that actually semen does come out from the backbone and ribs. That's not going to change. So in looking at that, I just always saw it as far as I can see. If I'm going to be completely honest with the verse, then it's a scientific error. Okay, it's a scientific error until and I thought, like I said before, I thought I would probably die without having that resolved. But I still always had faith that the verse is accurate. Okay, it's right, it's correct. But how, I don't know. Okay, how, I don't know. All right, and as it is, it looks wrong. And you have to have that kind of sincerity with the Quran. It's a sincerity with Allah, really, right? You say, okay, this looks like an error. I don't know why. Inshallah, Allah help me understand it. Another one, for example, the seven heavens. What does that mean? I can understand, even when it comes to the astronomy of the pre-Islamic Arabs. I don't think they had this astronomy. I mean, people always want to say that anything which you find in antiquity, the Arabs knew it, right? So that somehow the Arabs knew it. So if there was the story of Alexander the Great, okay, because it existed around that time, the Arabs knew. No, it's not true. It's not true. Like I said before, I said here that even the word Ar-Rahman, they didn't know what that meant, even though it was just in South Arabia, the Christians were using that, but they didn't know what Ar-Rahman was. All right, so I don't buy. I haven't looked into it, but so far I'm not going to assume that the pre-Islamic Arabs had the idea of the which later did develop into part of Islamic astrology, that you have sort of like seven domes on top of each other, and those are the seven skies. Okay, I don't know that the Arabs knew that. And just because even when they're questioned in the Quran, because in the Quran they are questioned, or they are said, Man Rabbus Samawati Sab'ah, who is the Lord of the Samawati Sab'ah, right? And they will say Allah. Okay, it's not because that's it's not because they knew that. Okay, it's because they're being put in the position where they can only answer Allah. Who else are they going to answer? Hubal, Allat, Al-Uzza? No. Just like when they asked, Man Rabbul Arsh al-Azim, who is the Lord of Al-Arsh al-Azim, who is Lord of the mighty throne, they didn't have any concept before Islam that Allah has a mighty throne. Okay, but they're being asked a question in which they're being cornered. Okay, they can only answer Allah. Right? It's not because they knew that Allah has a mighty arsh, or because they knew that the seven heavens, or they knew this. I don't accept that outright. Okay, not on basis on those verses. So when we talk about the seven heavens, all right, in the Quran, I'm not convinced that the Arabs had that astrology in place. Okay, sorry, astronomy in place of seven domes. Later on, Muslims did get that because they got it from the surrounding knowledge from the surrounding cultures. But what does that mean now? What does the seven heavens means now? Yeah, I mean, some say the stratosphere. I'm not convinced by that. Maybe connected with the development of the human soul. Yeah, again, see, that's what I'm saying. Okay, so for me, it would have to be, if ever I do get it, it will be just like how I got the backbone and the ribs thing. It will be like a, face palm. Duh, that's obvious. Okay. When I see, these are sort of like the interpretations where I have to sort of strain and say, okay, maybe this, maybe this. No, I think, come clearer than that. For example, I mean, I'm thinking, again, I put this in that video, God's Endgame, where they did a survey of the galaxies, right? Did a survey of the galaxies that they could see, and what showed up, the data that was shown, is that the galaxies seem to be in concentric circles around the Earth. And when I counted it, they didn't show that, but when I counted what they had on the screen, there were seven, right? So seven, like the galaxies are sort of like seven concentric circles, all around with the Earth, with our galaxy basically at the center. Could it be that? I don't know. I have a suspicion. I have an inclination to say, if anybody knows chemistry, um, I have a suspicion that at the macro level, the universe will mirror the micro level. I mean by that how you have the electron energy levels, the electron energy levels on the atom. If anybody knows, again, the chemistry. So there are 7 electron levels on the atom. And I mean, if you know your periodic table, you can see that, right? The periodic table has 7 periods. Okay, each row represents an energy level for the electrons. So in the first period, you have the s orbital, which can take 2 electrons. So that's why in the first period you can only have 2 elements: hydrogen with 1 electron and helium with 2. Okay, and then in the next period, okay, you get 8. Okay, there are 8. You can take 8 electrons in that energy level. Okay, which is one s orbital and a p orbital, which has 6 electrons, and it continues like that. So you have different energy levels, okay, on the electron. The most period, the highest energy level is 7. So I'm thinking maybe the macro level could mirror that in some way, and we would see that in fact the universe does have sort of 7 levels in some way. But again, that's just a hunch, right? Right now, as it stands, I don't know what the 7 heavens means. What does it mean? I don't know. But we should be able to say that, right? We don't know. Maybe it's not from us. Maybe 500 years from now, there'll be a better understanding to it. And even then, okay, people will argue about it, but they say, no, it's okay. Yes, it could mean that, but it's not clear. All right, it's not not clear. It's not a scientific description, and it isn't a scientific description. Okay, it's just because you could, okay, sama. There's only the sama is of course just the sky that we see, and it's just one sama. Okay, and they say, okay, you can't take that to mean the whole universe and things like this. Just like with the expanding universe, people say, look at that. So no, look, the verse doesn't have to be read that way. It can be read that وَإِنَّا لَمُوسِعُونَ means we are able. Okay, إِنَّا لَمُوسِعُونَ, we are musi'un. That God is describing Himself there. Okay, wasi', we are able. Anyway, that's just some more diversions, right? Yeah, I mean, yeah. No one know the true interpretation except Allah and those who are invested in knowledge. Exactly. So you just need knowledge to understand. I mean, trying to understand the interpretation of a verse without the knowledge, the prerequisite knowledge, you will fail. Okay, you will fail. Because in that verse it's talking about ما يعلم تأويله إلا الله والراسخون في العلم. So the راسخون في العلم isn't that they be invested in knowledge. It doesn't mean that they have that knowledge of the interpretation. The knowledge that's mentioned here isn't the knowledge of the interpretation. It's that they have knowledge. Okay, they are firm in knowledge, and because they have firm in knowledge, they are able to get the right interpretation through that knowledge that they have. If you don't have the requisite knowledge, you're not gonna get the correct interpretation. So when it comes to these things about about astronomy and stuff. I'm not really. I'm certainly not راسخون في العلم in them, right? I'm not established firmly in knowledge in that, right? And so in each of these things, you need to really look at those who really have the knowledge. No, I haven't. This question here: bring the conversation from the heavens back to earth. Have you already covered in another video that heaven will be on earth? I've covered again that video which I put. It's very speculative. God's end game, which is a continuation from the more important video, really, because you were asking Amir, you're asking about ibadah and these things. Okay, in that video entitled Qur'anic Islam versus Inherited Islam, it's a video essay, so it's scripted, and I recorded it. Okay, that is where I talk a lot about ibadah and how the reason for ibadah. The reason for ibadah is to gain taqwa, and from taqwa, what's the next level that you're supposed to reach? It's supposed to be shukr, and I talk about each of these key topics. Okay, these are the Quranic aims. Okay, ibadah, because you ask somebody, why should you be in ibadah to Allah? Okay, the most Muslims will not be able to answer. The reason for that is given in the Quran. It is so that we can gain taqwa. Okay, لعلكم تتقون. And then taqwa is supposed to lead to shukr. Then from shukr you get falah and rahmah. Okay, this is a system in the Quran which is mentioned. Okay, um, the aims. Okay, but then that next video of God's end game, I'm talking more about sort of the future. Because now people, there are people now, even now, people sending messages about because of the situation in Ukraine and stuff. Okay, now is the end of the world, right? Now Mahdi is going to come and Isa, and there's going to be a big battle and stuff, and then and then Day of Judgment will come, and that's it. And I find those kind of things they're anti-Quranic, right? Um, I believe that we're going to be here on this world. Humanity is going to be here on this world for you know hundreds of thousands of years. Okay, millions maybe. Okay, it's not going to be that's it. The judgment day is around the corner, and then that's it. No, because the purpose for why God put us on this world hasn't been achieved. Right? He said, "I'm going to make a khalifa on this earth." We have not been a khalifa. Okay, humanity is going to end up being a true representative of God on earth. And Allah said, "In the ard yarithuha ibadi as-salihun." Right, that the earth will be inherited by as-salihun. Okay, so they will be there, and will be for a long time. Okay, of course, some will say, okay, Mahdi will come, and then that's when the righteous will inherit the earth for 7 years, 7 years, and then Day of Judgment comes. So the whole thing from beginning to end, it's for humanity to, as the angels said, spill much blood and do corruption on the earth for all of this time, thousands and thousands of years, right? Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, and then for 7 years, Mahdi or Isa to come, make things right. The whole world is just for 7 years, and that's it. The purpose has been achieved. No, it's not going to be like that. It's going to be the opposite, where the period where humanity has been a righteous caliph on earth will last for so long that this period we're in now will be forgotten pretty much. Will be like nothing. Will be a little bit. So that's how I see it. So I was speaking in that video, God's End Game, about sort of the future of humanity and even beyond heaven and hell. Okay, that the purpose, after heaven and hell, I think there's more, basically. Okay. Let me see if there's anything else. Yeah, exactly. Interpretations will change with time. It's true interpretation of Allah. But we will get. There will be people who have knowledge who will understand them. I mean, the Quran hasn't been sent so that in the end nobody will understand it. Okay, but you need knowledge. People of knowledge will understand things, and so, you can't encompass the whole of the Quran. No one person can. So you encompass what you can. What you can't, it's for others to gain. If you understood everything in the Quran, then your mind is pretty much like it's like you're saying your mind is equal to the mind of God, almost. Yeah, compares them all over tree. Yeah, with much concentration. Yes, exactly. To inherit the earth. 39, this one, let me bring it in a minute. When Allah says to look at the earth and how it's created, for me, it's Allah talking straight to scientists. Yeah. I mean, it was speaking to the Arabs then as well. They didn't have to be scientists. It's just to look at it and how it's wonder. And the end says what? It doesn't say, الأرض كيف خلقت, how it was created. It says كيف سطحت, how it has been made sort of flat and expansive. Right? And now people there's a very interesting, because the flat Earth movement was very popular, and then YouTube sort of like clamped down on it and sort of like removed or made it very difficult to find people who are speaking about that. But in Arabic, there are still some. There's this one YouTube channel called Khatla, which is all about flat Earth and stuff, and it's a Muslim guys, young guys, actually really charismatic guys, and they always constantly talking about how the Earth is flat, and they bring the verses of the Quran saying the Earth is flat, and they believe the Earth is flat based on those verses. And again, that's if you take those verses to extract science from them. Yes, you can take from them and you'd say, okay, yes, the Earth is flat, because God said it's سطح. أرض كيف سطحت. Let me have a look at this verse that you mentioned, 39:74. 39:74. وقالوا الحمد لله الذي صدقنا وعده وأورثنا الأرض نتبوأ من الجنة حيث نشاء فنعم أجر العاملين. Yeah, and they said, I've said Alhamdulillah, praise be to God who has صدقنا وعده, who has fulfilled his promise to us and caused us to inherit the earth. نتبوأ من الجنة حيث نشاء فنعم أجر العاملين. We cause it to inherit the earth, and we move about. We move about in Jannah however we want. Okay, make us dwelling whenever we will in paradise. Let me see and find a decent translation. Sahih International says, and they will say, praise be to Allah who has fulfilled for us his promise and made us inherit the earth so we may settle in paradise wherever we will, and excellent is the reward of the righteous. Yeah, I mean that idea that Jannah is here on earth, okay, does have Quranic backing, from what I've seen, but I haven't looked at it, to be honest myself. Hassan al-Maliki has. He says yes, that there's a Jannah in this world before the next. But that's that's similar to what I'm mentioning in terms of that if the human being becomes a real Khalifa of God on earth, then he will make it to Jannah. The earth will be like a Jannah. The earth will be like a paradise. Like if the human being is like a Khalifa, a true representative, a reflection of God on earth, okay, in terms of his the qualities of justice, mercy, etc., then yes, the earth will become like a garden, a paradise, okay, in which we can go. And this is that verse definitely that you mentioned, Amir, supports that. So the verses are in Surah Al-Rahman, وَمِن دُونِهِمَا جَنَّتَانِ, that there can be two Jannahs before that and others. But I haven't looked at, to be honest, much into the idea of the Jannah being in this world or not. But like I said, I have thought deeply about sort of the future trajectory of humanity on this earth. To inherit it and be vice God, this is the filtration process where the good doers will inherit it. Yeah, exactly. But it's taking it back all the way to when God decided to create the human being, and the angel said that تَجْعَلُ فِيهَا مَنْ يُفْسِدُ فِيهَا وَيَسْفِكُ الدِّمَاء. Are you going to place on the earth those who will spread corruption and spill blood? And he said, I know what you do not know. Okay, in the end, ultimately, the angels will not be right. Okay, and ultimately, the angel's suspicion of the human being will not be right in a big way. It won't be in a small way. It won't be just for a few years. It will be for a long time. How long has it been since Jesus alayhi salam? Okay, in terms of us, it's 2,000 years. In Allah's sight, it's been 2 days. Right? The Quran talks about how إن يوما عند ربك كألف سنة مما تعدون. A day in the sight of your Lord is like is like 1,000 years from what you are counting. Okay, so since the Quran was revealed, it's only been like what, 1.4 days, right? 1 day and almost a half, not even a half. So imagine if it's 1,000 years in God's sight. Okay, 1,000 years, where each of those days in those 1,000 years, each of those is 1,000 of our years. Okay, that's a very long time, right? So there's a lot more to come, I believe. Did I miss anything? Yeah, exactly. We have created to be viceroys on earth. Exactly. So yeah, I'm with you, Amir, in that. But I do believe, you know, the final thing, the bottom line from what you're saying, I definitely do accept it. In the end, this world will be like a Jannah, will be a paradise for mankind. All right, I think let me end it then. No. Yeah, I put in, somebody's asking about this. Yeah, and I put them all. I put some NDEs in that video. Is that what people are asking about here? Yeah, I put a lot of those in NDEs in my video as well. I like sort of like flavoring, as they say. Yeah, you can check them as well. Check them all. Yeah, yeah. Your username, Jews bad news, is not just saying it's not appreciated. Okay, yes. What is this? What's your question? So your question, what is it? If it's for me, let me know. Otherwise, I think I'm getting ready to sort of end this now. This question. Okay, if Jannah is on earth, then how would we explain the NDE of all those people? Yeah, the NDEs are interesting. They're very interesting. But the main takeaway that I take from them is that, of course, you go into a place of timelessness, right? We're talking about a place where it's beyond time, and they mentioned that as well. A lot of the people who experience NDEs, they will talk about them as it's a place of timelessness. So it's not, you can't really relate it to what's going on the earth at the same quote unquote time. Yeah, continue you can continue the topic in the chats, in the comment section. All right, guys, I think I will end it there. Thank you all so much for attending. This is which one, the 49th. So we've got 50, 51, and 52 left to do. Looks like 52, 51, 52 will be during Ramadan, I think. Next week we will be starting Ramadan. I'm not sure, because I'm not even sure. Maybe we'll actually take it as a break during Ramadan. I'm not sure, but I'll keep you posted. I definitely do want to finish it so that we've done a year's worth of streams. Okay, so Jazakumullah khair, and I'll see you all next time.